Welcome back to the channel as I begin a new series from India. I arrived here in the capital of Delhi day before yesterday when the air quality index surpassed 360, and the smog was bad enough to cause flight delays at the airport and for me to pull out my N95 mask. But things are much better today. It's sunny and gorgeous, and I'm looking forward to showing you around this incomparable place.
First, some quirky geography. Delhi and New Delhi are side by side, but are not separate cities. New Delhi is an urban district located within the National Capital Territory of Delhi. Another way of putting it, Delhi contains New Delhi, which is the district where India's capital is located. So while India's capital is Delhi, it is not incorrect to describe it as being in New Delhi. And to further confuse matters, colloquially, New Delhi is often referred to as the capital. My first stop is at one of New Delhi's most prominent monuments, India Gate.
It's really hard to overstate just how huge the grounds are here. I don't know what the acreage is, but it's an enormous property with the monument sort of in the center of it and assorted war statues, famous statues around the monument, along with fountains and a children's park and lots of grass. It's just an amazing crowd of people who come here to see this monument. It appears to symbolize a lot more than its intended purpose. And with the letters India spelled out near its crest, it's certainly long been a point of pride for Indians. There are precious few places in New Delhi where one can walk around on manicured grass. People all around me are picnicking and gathered as families, mostly enjoying the spot. It's being enjoyed, but it's actually turf that is blocked off, and that people seemingly have just ignored the fact. And I guess that would include myself, since I decided to jump the rope line and enter the area to show you. It is, of course, a monument constructed by the British when India was still a colony. Independence didn't occur until some quarter century after this monument was created. And I doubt that many, if any, of the people who gather here day in, day out think about this place as a token of British colonialism. I'm here at one of New Delhi's most visited antiquities sites, the QUTUB MINAR, or the QUTUB Tower, built by an early Muslim leader after Islam was introduced here by invaders from Afghanistan in the late 1100s CE. It's the tallest minaret in all of India, at a height of almost 300 feet, or nearly the length of an American football field. This impressive sandstone monument, which combines Afghan and South Asian styles, is a symbol of how religious currents have shaped India and how they've changed dramatically over the years. Today, of course, India is 80% Hindu, but that wasn't the case after Muslims from Afghanistan and other parts of Central Asia arrived here in the 1100s and began constructing mosques like the one here beneath this great minaret. These Muslims heavily influenced India for some 600 years and claimed total domination for 3 centuries, up until about the time that the British arrived. Although much of the focus is, of course, on the Muslim influence here, because this was a Muslim construction, this has been a sacred site for thousands of years. And as so often happens in different parts of the world, the Afghan Muslims who came and established this place did it on top of the sacred ruins of previous civilizations. The driver told me that traffic is light. Namaste.
Namaste.
These beautiful gardens constitute much more than a park. The grounds here contain famous tombs from the Sayyid and Lodi dynasties of sultans who ruled over much of northern India and present-day Pakistan in the 1400s and 1500s. There's precious little that remains of either of these dynasties, which enhances the importance of the structures to be found here. Starting with the tomb of Muhammad Shah, the third of the Sayyids, who ruled for 11 years before his death in 1445. When you come inside, you're confronted with not one, but 8 tombs, crypts I should say. And so I must assume that the largest of these crypts belongs to the Muhammad Shah. Open air doors and their upper niches with birds flying in and out. Quite a final resting place for a sultan and his family. Muhammad Shah is one of those figures in history whose grand tomb is probably far out of proportion for someone who was reputed to have been a lazy ruler. He's said to have spent much of his time as sultan going on hunting expeditions before drinking himself to death. It goes without saying that Delhi is extremely crowded and noisy city, full of life and color, and it sort of jerks you up by the shoestrings. It calls you to attention, but then you disappear into a place like this, and it's the perfect tonic after days of pounding pavements. Of the Lodi tombs here, this one for Sikandar Lodi, the second sultan of that dynasty, may be the most impressive. It too was built by his successor son during the 2 years following his death in 1517. Sikandar Lodi's tomb, his crypt, is solitary inside this great domed building. And for whatever reason, it's gated and locked off. You know, the more I walk around these gardens with these spectacular buildings, the more I'm convinced that this is a true sort of hidden gem of Delhi. My favorite building here isn't even a tomb. It's the BADA GUMBAD, which literally means big dome. Built in 1490 by the same Sikandar Lodi. We know it's not a tomb because there's no grave inside, but just what this building was meant to be is not really clear. In fact, there's only speculation about it. So let your imagination run wild. If you come to Delhi and choose to visit but one royal tomb site, you'd likely want to make it here at Humayun's tomb, the final resting place of the 16th century Mughal ruler, which his first wife, Bega Begum, commissioned to have built in the 1560s. She's buried here too, along with a succession of Mughal royalty for several generations following Humayun. I'm on the outer terrace of this incredible mausoleum, and it's just a short distance away from the Nizamuddin Dargah, the celebrated Sufi saint of Delhi, who was laid to rest in his own impressive mausoleum next to where he lived. And that was the reason that Humayun, or I should say his widow, chose to place this great mausoleum precisely where it is. The Persian style of architecture was very popular with the Mughals at the time, and the emperor's widow brought in the finest of Persian architects to develop this building. In fact, this building inspired the construction of the Taj Mahal in Agra. His sarcophagus, of course, is in the center chamber beneath the grand dome. But his is not by any means the only grave inside this building. Just entering another corner chamber with, as you can see, 3 sarcophagi. As I prowl these corridors inside this mausoleum, I keep looking for where the woman responsible for this building is laid to rest. I know she's inside, but there's absolutely no signage, no markings. And I asked a lady who works here where she was located, and she could only say, no idea, it's one of the side rooms. And of course there are at least 4 side rooms bearing tombs, usually 2 or 3 apiece. I guess I will leave not knowing which is Bega Begum's final resting place. Humayun was as well traveled in death as he was in life. When he died, he was placed to rest at another location in Delhi. His body was later removed to a city in India's Punjab, near present-day Pakistan, until it was brought back here to be placed inside this marvelous mausoleum. The tomb I'm about to walk in is ascribed to be Barber's tomb, according to folklore, and it is striking. It bears 2 sarcophagi, one male and the other female, and again a lofty ceiling in here, and on the floor some bird droppings. It's almost as if this place is ignored, and yet if this were in any other setting, it would be a significant monument in itself. But there are just so many of these tombs to be found within the confines of this walled mausoleum complex that when people come here, they focus on Humayun's structure in the middle, and there's virtually solitude in much of the rest of this complex, which is really striking. And another place to come, even if you had no interest in India's history, could disappear inside this place and take refuge for part of an afternoon or a morning just to escape the hustle and bustle of Delhi. No, I don't need a ride now. Thank you. Well, let me show you how you cross a busy street in Delhi. Before committing, you have to make sure that there's an open space to get you all the way across both directions of traffic. So here we go. And that's how it's done. And I'm only halfway. You just sort of dare people to run over you. And based on what I've seen, nobody does. Of course, it also helps if you have a nice Indian family as a human shield. And as they say when crossing the street in India, all's well that ends well.